Hi, I'm George. Welcome to the Distinctive Living Channel. Today, we're dusting off one of Sunbeam's quirkiest Mixmaster accessories, the butter churn. Back in the 1930s and 40s, homemakers were promised fresh homemade butter with just the turn of a dial. But here's the twist. Hardly anyone ever used them. Let's churn up the story. Before the advent of refrigerated transportation, butter was almost always made at home. Cream went into a big churn, and hours of paddling finally brought golden butter. It was muscle work, but it was tradition. Then along came Sunbeam, eager to modernize. Their Mixmaster was the pride of the kitchen, and with a glass jar and wooden paddles, they claimed it could churn butter just as easily as whipping egg whites. The irony? Just as Sunbeam launched their churn, dairies began delivering butter to doorsteps, and grocery stores started stocking those neat little paper-wrapped sticks. Butter became cheap, clean, and convenient, and many churn jars were tucked away, barely used. This jar holds about a gallon. By farmhouse standards, that's tiny. A real butter-making session would have been several times this size. That's probably why so many of these churns were so gently used. A farm wife wouldn't have bothered with such small batches, especially when larger churns got the job done in one go. But for us, it'll be just about right. I'm going to put in half a gallon of heavy whipping cream to leave a little room for the beaters to work. There we go. That fills it about halfway up. You'll notice that the paddles of the churn are wood. Butter making has typically been done with wood, so it just makes sense that Sunbeam wanted to keep it traditional. Then we take the head off the Mixmaster. And it fits right into here and drops down. There we go. Now, most Mixmaster attachments say to use it on high speed, so here we go. Starting to thicken. It's becoming the consistency of runny whipped cream. Now pretty soon it's going to start to break. It's going to over whip. And that's when the butter will start to form and the buttermilk will begin to separate. As the buttermilk separates, I can see the butter starting to turn more yellow. It's getting clumpy. there you have it. Now I'm going to pour off the buttermilk. Getting the buttermilk out of butter is what makes butter last so long. You can see it's still coming out. There's a lot of buttermilk in there. Okay. In the past, butter would have been shaped with wooden paddles called Scotch hands. But I don't have those, so I'm going to use these wooden utensils that made about a quart of buttermilk from half a gallon of cream. And then these wooden paddles are almost completely dry. It's amazing. Get that butter out of there. And you can see how the white cream left behind all of this yellow, delicious butter. I'm just going to dump it out. Look at that. Ah. You want to get all the buttermilk out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in this sieve, and actually you wash the butter curds under cold running water to get the buttermilk out. And that's what allows the butter to keep as long as it does. And some cultures even turn the butter into ghee to get the butter solids out of it, and that keeps even longer. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and mix in a little bit of salt. Got some nice kosher salt here. I'm not exactly sure how much. The salt also helps preserve it. If you were going to use the butter for cooking, you wouldn't necessarily have to add the salt. If you were going to use it for baking, I mean. And now, I'm going to put this on a little piece of parchment, or a big piece of parchment. Rubber spatula in a minute and get all that out. And there is our beautiful, rich butter. I'm going to just shape it into a little mound here. And then it can go into the refrigerator. I've given our butter a little time in the refrigerator, so now let's give it a taste. How beautiful it is. With just a little salt on it. I've got a little fresh bread. Let's see how it tastes. Do you think it'll be better than store-bought butter? Let's see. I don't let it get really firm. It's so good. It's creamy. It has just the right amount of salt, and I love the little bit of crunch from that kosher salt that's in it. You could also flavor it up with herbs and spices or anything else you wanted. If you were doing a lot of baking and you needed buttermilk as well, you just made them both. Definitely worth the time. I can't stop eating it. Now it makes me wish I had baked bread. Thanks for joining me on the Distinctive Living channel. If you enjoyed this dive into vintage kitchen history, please give it a like, subscribe for more distinctive stories, and share it with someone who loves a good bit of nostalgia. And if you haven't seen our newsletter, check for the link in the description box below. It's filled with more stories, vintage find, and distinctive homes you won't want to miss. See you next time.